Good evening, friends. Today brings extraordinary news. A huge blow against the British state, which is seen as an undemocratic state. We're basically in a country that's viewed as a pariah state. So what happened? Just to recap the facts. We have Prime Minister Keir Starmer, who decided a few days ago to implement digital identity in the United Kingdom. You should know that traditionally the United Kingdom has never had digital identity or anything like that. Britons who don't travel, for example, don't even have a passport. They don't even need to have any papers. It's not a society based on show me your papers. Generally, to pick up a registered letter, you can show a driver's license, you can show a bank card with your name, you can show a birth certificate. It doesn't matter. But it's not a society where there's an identity card. There's no national identity card in the United Kingdom. So can you imagine the psychological shock? Suddenly, he announced, well, here we go. We're going to move to a digital identity. So that's already the first point to keep in mind. Secondly, it wasn't in his agenda at all. You should know that Keir Starmer really used the Trojan horse technique. Even though many politicians do it, none have taken it to its essence like Starmer did. What does that mean? It means that he was elected on a platform, so he became part of the Labour Party, let's say socialist, the left, right? As for what these labels mean, I'm putting them in quotation marks, you know what I mean? I'm not attached to these labels. And actually, he was elected on a platform, and we've been used to people getting elected on promises for a very long time. Later on, when they come to power, they realize that they were a bit mistaken, that they promised too much, that they said things that aren't realistic and all that. And then afterwards, they take a slightly more pragmatic stance, where we see 180-degree turns, not 360 like some people say, 180-degree turns compared to a program. So here, Keir Starmer really took it to the extreme because he was elected on a program. The moment he comes to power, he tears up his program and says, okay, I came for something else. And he does something completely different from day one without even trying. All right? Which means he's someone who lied to get elected, but he says, anyway, it's not forbidden to lie. Elections, the promises people make, they're not contractual promises. In fact, that's a major flaw of democracy in many countries. We should have a system where candidates who want to run for any position must submit their program to an electoral commission. They should have to sign it in front of witnesses. And if they ever abandon that program, well, immediately we call an early election because they lose their legitimacy. This guy is totally illegitimate. He's a Trojan horse for the World Economic Forum. He's a Trojan horse for the globalists. He's a guy from day one, just to tell you, from day one. We saw it. It's not that we saw it. It's not that it was leaked. As they say, he's the one who posted it. He got eaten up with BlackRock, didn't he? Then there's the symbol of predatory capitalism, who claims to be left-wing. And in the days to come, he made laws to expropriate landowners, farmers, the expropriated ones. We all know who's going to buy up that land. So, for example, he created an inheritance tax. And then from that point on, when the patriarch dies, people are forced to sell the land. The land will be bought back and end up in the big American capitalist group's coffers. And then this land is being transformed. I told you in another video, it's being turned into a source of income. That means the land is covered with solar panels. And then the taxpayer will pay through their taxes, but also their bills. We have electricity, but the United Kingdom now has some of the world's highest prices. And actually what they're doing is simply financing it through our taxes and our bills. We're funding this scam and the capitalist groups buying land and covering it with solar panels. We have to pay them even when there's no sun or when it rains. That's still pretty extraordinary. So, as I was saying, well, now we're getting to the big thing. The Palantir Group is a well-known American company, reportedly close to the CIA, according to some. It's the group that handles digital identity, among other things. Well, the Palantir Group has stated that it does not want to work with the United Kingdom on the British Digital Identity Project. And do you know what the reason is? He said it's because this is not legitimate, it hasn't been democratically tested, and we have a principle of only working with authorities that are democratic. They said there was no referendum, there wasn't any. It wasn't in the election program, it wasn't in Keir Starmer's program, in the Labour program. People are protesting against it. There was a petition that reached almost 3 million signatures. He sat on it and said, I know you're against it. I don't care, okay? You're against it. He tears it up, and then that's it. We're going to move forward. And Palantir says, we don't work with that. Why? Because they're not stupid. They're not doing it for humanitarian reasons. Palantir, they're very good. They see the future. They know that collaborating with mustachioed men means working with lifelong presidents, marshals, and all kinds of dictators. Isn't that the British style? One country. Today, the United Kingdom is the country of the Magna Carta. That has always been cited as the prime example of liberal democracy. This country has sunk into the Dark Ages. Today, this country is really sinking into totalitarianism. Naturally, they take notice. Palantir says, we don't want to work with them. Why? If a revolution or regime collapse happens tomorrow, it won't matter. They could find themselves on the hot seat. They could end up being sued, having to compensate millions of people who were mistreated by their state. So, you see, they're being careful. Probably their lawyers, their advisors are telling them, listen, United Kingdom, just don't touch that today because we don't know what could happen in the future. So that's how this country is being seen. Now, if you look, there's something synchronized. It happened literally the same week in the United Kingdom, but in Switzerland. The Swiss, who voted for it and were happy, show the limits of a referendum. When you have a population that isn't aware, when you have a population that doesn't understand the long-term issues, that is manipulated by the everyday media, that is even manipulated behind the scenes. Some Confederation-owned companies have supported public enterprises and digital identity. That's completely against the referendum system, isn't it? But, well, it's okay. The important thing is that the result went through. The Swiss voted on the same issue a few years ago, but chose the opposite outcome. So we're going to vote again until we get the desired result. That's pretty much how referendums work. You vote again, and you vote again. By the way, for Brexit, they wanted to make us do a second referendum. Brexit never really happened. They tried to make us hold a second referendum. Did you notice? Ireland actually had 2 referendums. Actually, when a referendum doesn't go the way they want, you have to vote again a second time, a third, a fourth, until they get the result they want. The moment they get the result they want, that's it, they implement it. You stop voting, it's over, okay? Anyway, I said there was that in Switzerland, there was the United Kingdom. Literally the same week, the same month, the same time, our Abon was talking. Actually, what do we have? What is happening? Digital identity is absolutely necessary for what's coming. There's the project called Project 2030. It's simply total and absolute control over the individual. You will be a minor for life. That means your whole life you will never be an adult. Do you remember when you were little and your parents would say, finish your plate or don't go out, stay there, don't move, stay in your room, you're grounded? Or when they would say, you finish this cookie, you don't touch anymore, that's it for cookies today. You see, you were a child. It's normal. You needed to be guided by your parents. You needed an adult to educate you, to guide you, to teach you gently, gradually, to lead you toward adolescence, then toward adulthood. Gradually, you'll gain freedom, independence, autonomy, and be able to decide for yourself. Well, this phase where you make your own decisions and take responsibility, that phase will disappear. You'll be a minor for life, monitored by an app and officials who control your actions and knowledge. Here's a simple example. In the United Kingdom for the past few days, Nando's and similar restaurants that serve food. You know, you go there, you get a cup, and you can go get yourself a drink as many times as you want. Well, now it's written on the machines that for regular Coca-Cola with sugar, you only get it once. It's the government that decided. The official says, okay, you take one and you don't touch the second one. If you want a second one, we won't serve you a second one. You can take either water or juice or Coke or other drinks with sugar substitutes with chemical waste like that, which they call sugar-free, right? They actually have ingredients worse than sugar, right? That's just what the government decided. So That means that in reality, in your everyday life, you'll have more and more government. You'll have more and more control over. The government will have the right to oversee, the right to control every action you take. And people, when I shared this news in bed, people said, oh yeah, it's true that Coke isn't good for your health, but wait. Even worse, what we're seeing is the cowardice of citizens who have lost all sense of individual autonomy. Today, many say, yes, this state should educate and control us. Were you prepared for enslavement? You'll become slaves and enter dark times. The ruling club will view the eras of slavery and servitude as a golden age, compared to what's waiting for you. If you keep going like this. In fact, what they want is digital identity, obviously, because later on we'll need to bring that in. It's already underway. Digital currency. The digital currency will be linked to a person. So we need to have a digital identity that's stored on government servers. That way, we can connect it to the currency. And then you can have limits. For example, the currency can expire. You have to spend it, or it can be budgeted, right? As a teenager, you get a budget, some pocket money, and are told what it's for. This is for the bus, cafeteria, and school supplies. They budget for you. Well, the state will budget for you in the same way. You will receive money that will be earmarked, budgeted. For example, you might have something like that. You might still have money in the account, but there's no more money left to go to the movies. That's it. The leisure budget has run out. There you go. You can still, call the state, get their service and the donation, a little check, a little help. Like that. Maybe at the movies you'll see a film. Approved and subsidized by the state, of course. And in that case, well, there you go. So you can have geofencing. That means geofencing, they dream about it. Geofencing is trying to create a world with digital borders. That means with fences. Fencing is a fence, so you can have a digital fence. That means that, for example, your identity won't work beyond a certain area, or your money won't work anymore. Like, you say, well, you can't go more than 20 kilometers from your home, and then what happens is you go beyond 20 kilometers from your home. Your driver's license is no longer valid, your identity doesn't work, your money also doesn't work, you see what I mean? You want to go buy something. They tell you, no, it's not possible, it won't go through, okay? So there are a lot of British people who haven't really understood the impact. They're saying, yes, I'm going to buy an old Nokia, the old Nokia. What's the series? 33,000. Something like a phone, not a smartphone that settles it. No, it's not settled. That's not how it works. It will be mandatory. Let me tell you something. For example, he said it's mandatory for work, so you have to manage somehow. Even if you don't use a phone, bring it up on a computer screen, on a tablet, someone can lend you a phone, it's not a problem. You have to show your digital identity to work, for example, and count on the business world. We might as well not get away with saying, well, it doesn't concern us, but I don't think other companies will follow suit. Imagine on Monday morning you have the human resources lady with her big glasses and her badge, right? Around her neck, she tells you, bring me your digital identity because it's the law, and we have to comply. Conformity will destroy the West. They're just conformists. Do you see my point? Let me tell you something. You know my Marxist leanings, I'll tell you something. The law. Okay, the state. What's the state there for? What is the state? It's a committee managing the ruling class and those who dominate you. You can clearly see that the laws that come out, all of that, you didn't choose them, you didn't want them, you didn't wish for them. Yet there are plenty of laws that you wish for. For example, you did wish that the secretaries wouldn't have the rights they have today, but does that happen? No, that doesn't happen. For example, I can get 99% agreement for that law against the secretaries. Yet it doesn't exist. The law, when you're little, they teach you that it's made by a people's assembly and that the law represents precisely the will of the people. That's not true. They lied to you when you were a child. Parents, please stop lying to your children and repeating the propaganda you were taught. It has affected your thinking. You need a complete re-education. That's the truth. What will you do about it? You go to the poor kids who are growing up and tell them the nonsense that was put into your head. The law isn't that. The law is the expression of the will of the classes that dominate you. That's the law, a good definition. If my 7-year-old daughter asks what the law is, I tell her, my daughter, It's text written by the people who dominate us, and then that's it. They say it's sacred because it matches their opinion. It's a bit like when someone imagines a ventriloquist with a little puppet. He tells you to obey him, saying, "It's me, it's him, you have to obey." He says something. There you go, I obey. Ouch, I obey. Ah, you obey, otherwise you're an outlaw. The worst that happens is you're an outlaw. But what is the law? The law is not the expression of the people. It is not the expression of the will of the people. It is the expression of the will of the ruling class. You see? Their will is law and you must obey, right? Tell me, I didn't give you any orders. I didn't tell you to obey me. You obey the law. Except the law, they're the ones who write it, right? Their opinion, view, will, and the law are all the same thing. There's no difference, right? Different things. Two concepts. Different, right? So, and the jurisprudence, it's their sensitivity. Their sensitivity is high. That's the jurisprudence. You see what I mean? And that's at every level. So the problem is that when you have this falling into a territory of conformity, when nowadays you have entire departments dealing with compliance, well, of course, he takes a law. 2 hours later, you have people already working on it. How do they force you to respect the law, to obey the law? You see, the pharmacist who will tell you, they already said that. You arrive at the pharmacy. He says, well, for the prescription, I need to see your digital identity. It's the law now. I can't do otherwise. I'll be fined. I can't do it. All right. So you'll end up with people at the same level as you, at the same social level. But who are drones, who are programmed? Isn't it precisely to act for the dominant class? Who will say they can't give or dispense the medicine to you? So what do? If you're a child with 42 girls, then what do? What are you going to do? You're going to go like she lets go. You're going to go outside. You can cry if you want. You can cry, right? Next, use your phone to register for the digital identity and show it to him. Even if you're upset, he'll still give you the medicine. That's how it works. You follow orders, all right? It's a dark world. We're preparing for you, my friends. It's a world. Europe is really reconnecting with its demons. Europe has always been this way if you look at the past century's history. It has always been run by crooks, always run by demons, by monsters. And today, it's starting to show. It's clear now. We're on a first-name basis and no one's pretending. All right? There you go. Maybe I've even said too much. I started this video intending to say less than what I just said. All right? So, my friends, that's the situation we're in here in Europe. It's an extremely critical situation. There is an acceleration today of the... Look, Macron said today social networks, they're a threat. Our democracies, but what democracy? What democracy? They threaten our democracies. Why? They threaten our democracies? Because it allows citizens to talk to each other without interference from the state. That's it. It allows voices that don't come from the ruling classes to be exchanged. Someone could be a worker earning minimum wage. He posts a tweet, he shares an experience, he shares something that happened to him, and you'll see that it's been shared 100,000 times, right? That it's been seen 5 million times. It's not a dominant voice, but someone dominated who must stay quiet, listen, and obey. Ideally in front of the television one way. You come in, you turn off your brain, you open your mouth, your eyes watch, and they feed you, they'll tell you what you should think. The social network, it has a problem. The problem is that it's two-way. We interact, there's an exchange, there's communication. Okay? And it's not filtered by social class. You see? I've seen young people, sometimes a disabled kid and all that. He's in his bed. 1 million followers, he can reach millions of people. That's unacceptable. The word must come only from the state because the state is a committee serving the dominant classes. That's pure Marxism, my friends, okay? So today the state needs to control speech and speech itself. It will be controlled by censorship using Orwellian language that's always inverted. Does it matter L or the grocery store and the father? We need to shut down social networks for more freedom, for more democracy. We need to silence the voice of the people. Always the opposite. War to bring peace. We need war. War is called peace. Everything is reversed because their cross is upside down. Their values are upside down. Jay, a friend would call that Satanism. I stopped short, but you get it. An upside down cross is Satanism. Inverted values are always Satanism. It's not just the language. All the values are reversed too. It's not that the values are upright and the language is reversed. Everything is reversed. It's the words and the values behind them that are upside down. That's why it's often shown as an upside down cross, or for some, a pentagram. But well, if we keep going down this path, we're entering another tunnel, we're entering another story, which will take us out of the territory of Palantir, of digital technology, and so on. And we'll go somewhere else into another field, but one that also has its own interest, that also has its own validity, because what we're experiencing can be explained on different levels. You have to understand it on different levels to fully grasp it. What I'm saying is, well, my friends, I'm going to stop here, right? Because maybe I've said too much. Okay. Like a great marketer, right? I'm telling you about my book, Astrology, which I mentioned in the middle of the video. I'll put the link in the pinned comment. I'm a great marketer because good marketers mention it up front, not at the end of a video. My friends, that's not why we're here. We'll see what happens. See you soon, Seuss.